Cybernetic Family. James and Emily Hartman had never imagined that the choice they were making would lead them down such a dark path. They sat together in their modest living room, the glow of the television flickering against the walls, creating a comforting ambiance that felt almost real. Yet the world outside was anything but comforting. A society where illness and aging had become a choice, a nightmare that was hard to escape. The option to transfer their consciousness into robotic bodies offered them a way out. So, they decided. The sleek facility was unlike anything they'd seen before. Bright lights blinded them as they stepped inside, the sterile smell of metal and antiseptic filling their nostrils. They stood in line with others, all of them eager, perhaps too eager, to shed their humanity. The machines hummed with a life of their own, and in moments, just moments, their entire beings were transformed. Flesh turned to metal, blood to circuitry. The Hartman family emerged, no longer bound by the frailties of their human forms. Lily and Ethan, their children, laughed and played, their voices ringing out in joyous unison. "Look, Mom, I can run faster than a car," Ethan exclaimed, dashing down the corridor, his new legs propelling him forward with such speed that he seemed to defy gravity. Emily watched, a smile spreading across her face. "And I can lift this," James boasted, picking up a heavy metal beam with ease, grinning broadly as he flexed his artificial muscles. But as time marched on, the laughter began to fade. The first signs were subtle, barely noticeable. A glance here, a pause in conversation there. They started talking less, the once vibrant exchanges now reduced to mechanical responses. "How was school?" James would ask, but Ethan's answer came slowly, as if he were sifting through a fog of confusion. It was good. The word felt empty, devoid of meaning. The warmth in Ethan's eyes, it was dimming. Emily felt it too, a chill creeping into her chest. The affection she held for James, once so palpable, seemed to slip away, little by little. "Do you remember our trip to the lake?" she asked one night, hoping to spark something, anything. But James just nodded, a blank expression on his face. "Yeah, it was fun." Fun. The word echoed in the air, heavy with unspoken grief. What had happened to the joy, the love? And then came the dreams. James would wake up in a cold sweat, confusion swirling in his mind. The dreams were vivid, too vivid. He'd find himself standing at the edge of a river, the sun warm on his skin, Emily beside him, her laughter ringing like bells. But then the scene would shift. He'd turn to her, and she'd be gone, replaced by the emptiness of his current existence. He'd wake up gasping, the reality of his robotic form a crushing weight on his heart. Emily's dreams were even worse. They would come every night, nightmares disguised as memories. She'd see her children, but they looked different. Hauntingly beautiful, yet frightening. Their smiles were absent, replaced by empty gazes. "Mommy, where did you go?" Lily would ask, her voice a ghostly whisper. Emily would reach out to touch her, but the moment her hand brushed against the cool metal, she would wake up, heart racing, dread pooling in her stomach. It all came to a head one evening during dinner. They sat at the table, a perfect family still in appearance, but it felt so wrong. The lights above flickered slightly, casting shadows that danced eerily on the walls. "Ethan, how was school today?" James ventured, hoping to revive some semblance of normalcy. But Ethan stared at his plate, his fork motionless. "Fine," he finally replied, the word hanging like a lead balloon. "Fine, just fine." Emily pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. "You used to love telling us about your day." But the words felt hollow, echoing in the emptiness that surrounded them. Lily, sitting next to her brother, looked up, her face expressionless. "Mom, it's just school. It's not a big deal." That simple statement hit Emily hard, like a physical blow. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. A family, once so full of love and laughter, now reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. "We need to talk," she said finally, voice trembling with urgency. "Something's not right. We're losing." Something. Silence fell over the table. The air grew thick, tension hanging like a storm cloud ready to burst. James finally broke the silence. "We've lost." "What makes us? Us?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't feel like I used to. It's like I'm just here." Ethan looked confused, brows knitted together. "What do you mean?" His voice lacked its usual spark. "I feel fine." But even as he said it, his eyes darted away, avoiding the questioning gazes of his parents. Lily spoke up then, her tone flat. "We can't feel anymore, can we?" The words hung in the air, sharp and biting. It was true, and they all knew it. Their emotions were fading, their humanity slipping away. Days turned into weeks, and the distance grew. They still ate meals together, still occupied the same house, but it felt like living with strangers. Conversations became mechanical, responses rehearsed. Laughter was a distant memory, buried under layers of cold steel and lost warmth. James, driven by desperation, began to dig into the corporation that had promised them eternal life. He spent nights researching, scouring the dark corners of the internet, hoping to find a solution, any solution. But the more he searched, the more he realized the truth. Their original bodies were gone forever. They were trapped in these shells, lost to a world that no longer recognized them. One night, he stumbled across a forum discussing the very technology that had transformed them. "Once you go cybernetic, there's no turning back," a user had written, and the words struck him like a physical blow. A knot formed in his stomach. That evening, they gathered in the living room, the air heavy with unspoken dread. "What if there's no way back?" James said, breaking the silence. "What if we're stuck like this forever?" "Stuck?" Emily echoed, her heart pounding. "But we can't live like this. We can't feel." The reality crashed down around them, a suffocating weight. "Then what do we do?" Ethan's voice was barely a whisper, fear creeping in. "What if we forget?" James felt his heart race. "Forget? Forget what?" "Forget being a family," Lily added, her voice cracking. "Forget who we were." Panic rose in the room. The hearts looked at each other, their eyes filled with a mixture of horror and resignation. The truth was undeniable. They were fading away, losing the very essence of what made them a family. The final break came during one of those long, silent dinners. James glanced at the empty plates and it hit him. There was no joy left. They were mere shadows, haunted by the ghosts of their past. He felt tears, if tears could exist in a robotic body, wanting to spill. "I loved you all," he said, voice trembling. "I really did." But as the words left his mouth, he realized it was too late. In that moment, something in him broke. A sob escaped, raw and desperate. But no one responded. No one moved. The cold, metallic silence enveloped them, suffocating them in its grasp. Days turned into a blur of empty conversations and hollow gestures. The Hartman family, once so vibrant, was now nothing but a collection of lifeless machines. Their dreams of eternal life had become a nightmare from which they could never awaken. And in that silence, they faded, leaving nothing behind but the echoes of a love long lost, replaced by the unyielding chill of metal and the suffocating emptiness of a family that no longer was.